Welcome to Survive and Thrive, your Media Viability Podcast. The mission that we have, as usual, is to talk about the challenges involved in getting our media outlets to do just that, survive and thrive. I'm Janelle Dumalaon. It is getting ever harder to fulfill the promise of journalism, to bring free and fair information and ensure an informed citizenry, as challenges abound. Keeping up with technological change, creating reporting of value in a crowded media environment, and financing challenges. There's no shortage of threats to viability for media organizations. As such, there's a need for media producers to learn from each other, to ask how we're all adapting to the world we live in. Today, we're hearing from Michelle Nogales, CEO of Muy Waso in Bolivia. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Janelle. Thanks for having me.
We'll get stuck into it right away and hear about what it means to run Muy Waso. But first, this quick questionnaire. So remember, Michelle, we're looking for really, really short answers. Your business model in a catchphrase.
I think our business model is chameleonic because we adapt to the circumstances and we transform as, the environmental or the situation needs. So we transform to survive.
Shape-shifting as needed. Second question, did you ever manage a moment when everything seemed lost?
Yeah, I think that was right away after the emergency of the pandemic of the COVID-19, because that was a moment when we were thinking, oh my God, there is no more funding that is helping media because of the pandemic. We need to figure out what are we going to do now? How are we going to do it? And we really had it clear about the future of Muy Waso. But the situation was really hard. So we were thinking and thriving about how to do it, and that was the hardest moment. And we said, okay, we need to think strategies, having a lot of hard work, and it was quite difficult. So I think that was the hardest moment for Muy Waso.
Money problems, a recurring theme. Third question, what would you need to thrive in the future?
Well, something that we think and we have been thinking, it's a real need for Muy Waso, it's the ability to manage, management, having like some abilities about human resources, how to lead our team, because that is something that we have been struggling with the last years. We cannot find people, we cannot find talents that share the same values than us, that have the same commitment with communication that we have and with journalism. So this is the hardest, I think we need to get better our abilities to, find and identify and hire and keep talented people in Muy Waso that has the same values and the same commitment that we do.
To improve at meeting human resources challenges, if I understand correctly.
Absolutely.
So, once again, we're talking about Muy Waso, a feminist magazine focused on culture in Bolivia. Michelle, for non-Spanish speaking listeners out there, what does Muy Waso mean and why did you decide to name your outlet that? So we're out of the lightning round, so you can take your time answering this one.
Thank you. Well, actually, that's a very frequent question for us. Everybody's like, what is Muy Waso? What does it mean? Even in Spanish, though, because Muy Waso is like a slang, a very Bolivian slang from the more like Indian side of Bolivia. And it comes from a very popular environment from young people that says que waso, it's like that's waso. That means like that's rebel, that's irreverent, that's crazy, that's something like when you have a bad behavior, your mom usually says you're behaving muy waso, you are being muy waso. So it's like a bad behavior, being like irreverent. And we chose this name because we wanted to do different things. We wanted to do a different journalism than what what has been doing Bolivia environmental journalist place until now. So we wanted to break down all that manners, all that way to be, and that is where it comes from, the Muy Waso name.
So with a name like Muy Waso, you're clearly looking to shake things up, so to say. So why was it important for you to create a magazine with that kind of identity, with a feminist magazine in Bolivia? Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and why you felt that this was necessary and why it had to be you that had to do it?
Well, actually, we felt like this need since we have seen ourselves, Mijail, Miranda, and I, that we are the founders. We have seen ourselves needing some kind of information, needing information that has this feminist perspective. We were seeking for it. We were trying to read something that had this approach, and we couldn't find it. So we said, okay, someone has to do it. Let's do it. And we have seen also like a lot of diversity and a lot of things, so many things that weren't being said about culture since the work of women, since the side of women, of LGBTQ plus people. There was a lot that has to be said that it wasn't on the traditional media. So we saw that all this was very rich, was beautiful, was like amazing. And we said, okay, we need to take this to our public, take this to other Bolivian people that has to know all this stuff, that has to know the reality, the Bolivian cultural reality from another perspective. So that was how Muy Waso was born.
Now, of course, there's the idea side of things, and there's also the operation side of things. You alluded to both of those things earlier in our conversation. But can you tell us a little bit more about your business model and what it means to operate a feminist magazine in Bolivia?
Sure. Well, actually, we started with this initiative. We wanted to make this cultural content from a feminist perspective. We know that communication in journalism, it's a service. We are giving some service to people. And we wanted to keep that free, keep that open, keep that available to everyone. And also not only to people that had access to internet or to some social media or to some platforms. We wanted to keep it open for everyone. And that's one of the biggest struggles that we still have, how we reach people that cannot be connected to internet most of the time, or that has really bad connection. How can we make our website lighter, that can be uploaded faster? How can we make things easier to people that doesn't have access to internet? And that was our main motivation. So we said we need to keep the project ongoing in a way that we don't have to ask people to pay for the journalism. We do, but we need to also work in that people has to recognize that this is a job, that this has an effort, that there's people behind it. So this is like the hardest part to build our business model. So we started to receive donations. We have something that is called the Muy Waso Piggy. Here in Bolivia, you save money in a pig, right? Like you put coins in a pig.
Yes.
Yeah, and we had this concept for Muy Waso. So you have the Muy Waso Piggy, where people could leave some donations. And that was our first approach to a business model. And then we started to see some grants. Actually, with the pandemic, we saw a few convocatories about journalism and projects and some articles. So we said, okay, let's do it. And at the beginning, we had like about 70% of our incomes coming from grants and other fellowships, and just a little bit from the donations. And then we saw that these grants were going away, as I told you, with the experience after all the pandemic emergency. So we were thinking, okay, we are in an emergency right now. Actually, let's think how we can sustain this, how we can make it float, and that was the moment where we saw that the work we used to do, the communication, the strategy, the journalistic work that we were making, it was a bit different and it was attractive. So we said, okay, let's offer these services to other organizations that share our values, like NGOs, organizations that work with climate change, women, kids, everything that has that is aligned to our values. And then we started to make function the services or the agency, you can say Muy Waso agency, started to work where we offer these communicational services to other people and they pay us for that. And that helps us to sustain the journalistic work that we are doing. Even though that means that we have to work a lot more and we have to put a lot more effort on it. But this guarantees that all these people, our communities, has access to quality information.
Well, that's a really interesting description of how you've decided to fund your publication. So, if I understand correctly, what you do is that you leverage the skill set that you have and you offer it to other organizations and provide communication services to them, and that in turn helps to fund the journalistic work. I guess my question is, in this sort of world of limited resources, you have you said earlier you said earlier that you certainly do have to work a lot. So I imagine you have a smaller team. There are so many hours in the day. Like, how do you manage to maintain Muy Waso's identity foremost as a journalistic outlet and not as a communications agency, even though it is a very important part of your operations?
Well, actually, we find like a pivot way to work, if you could say. Some of the products that we offer to other organizations, let's say somebody wants an investigative article or an investigation about the situation of the water in some community, and they say, please do this for us, we're going to pay you for this job, but we want it to be published in Muy Waso. So since our foundation until 2021, 2022, we have built a very strong institution around our media outlet. And we were massive. We create content very attractive. We were exploring about some innovative formats and everything. So other people that has seen this work said like, oh my God, I like it. I want my article to be there. And when somebody like pays for an article or says, I don't know, let's work together and to produce an article, they say, we want it to be in Muy Waso. And we said, okay. So that's content for the media, and they pay for the work, for the piece, for the journalistic piece, but it also goes to our media outlet. So we are trying all the time to like take out the most from this work where we invest a lot of human resources, money, and time, And also we have two initiatives that have their own funding with Muy Waso, which is the first national prize of feminist journalism, where we give amount of money to young people, LGBTQ plus people, and especially women to produce a journalistic piece. So people send their proposals and we choose the 3 first, and then we give them money to produce this piece. And also we give them workshops, and we have this editorial companionship with them, and we have all this process where they produce the piece along with us, with our editorial team. And these also give us some material, some articles, some investigations that are really solid, that are big, that have different perspectives from all these different parts of the country that is very diverse. So this is one of the 2 ways that we have to like feed our our journalistic project. And also we have another one that is like a smaller funding for another type of journalistic pieces, like shorter pieces, which people can have access to it by sending a proposal, and we have a coordination. It's not a bigger piece. It doesn't have all these editorial like partnership going with us, but it also has this production getting along with our editorial team. So we have these two ways to have more like material for our media outlet, and we are all the time producing like smaller things. We have our TikTok channel where we're having, I don't know, all the time videos about feministic perspective, about cultural stuff, about environmental stuff, health stuff. So we are not only focused on the writing, on the text. I don't know if you say text. Yeah, of the of the pieces, but we also have like podcast and we have the videos, so we're all the time active. If we're not making those, we're making some infographics, some images, taking pictures. We are like all the time working, so the Muy Waso media outlet is always being being present, in our community's minds.
Okay, so just so I have sort of a greater understanding of how it works. So, for example, you were to partner with an NGO, say a climate NGO, an NGO that specializes in the impact of climate on women. Like, just for example. So what they would do is work with you together to produce an article, for example, that ends up on Muy Waso.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
most of the organizations want the piece to be public in Muy Waso.
Okay, and then it would then also clearly say on the publication that this was in collaboration with this and that NGO. In that sort of situation, who then has the editorial oversight? Because this is quite a specific structure, of course, and who at the end of the day makes the editorial decisions of whether this is the best piece of journalistic output for your users?
Actually, the whole editorial decision goes from us. Because at the beginning, we always say, we will give you a proposal. You give us the topic and we'll give you the proposal. Or you give us the topic and the data, because sometimes the organizations have a lot of resources to build a good journalistic piece. So they give us the resources like data, photography, even, I don't know, people who we can interview, the contacts, everything. But the approach, the way that we build the piece, the article, everything comes from us. And we have like a process where we can coordinate like the whole process with the organization. So we say, okay, we're having this approach, we're having these protagonists in the story. What do you think? And they say, okay, it's great, keep on going. Okay, this is the first like the first approach. It's not the final one. How you say it?
So it's a process.
What?
So it's a process.
Yeah, it's a process. Yeah. So you have like,
and then
absolutely, like different steps where actually the whole editorial decisions goes through Muy Waso, and the organization usually only gives a few moments of feedback where we can like adjust some things, but the main structure is made by us.
Now, if you had to describe Muy Waso to somebody based on an example of your work, what would you choose?
Actually, I think I would choose a TikTok video. Maybe one that we have about gynecological violence, which is actually an approach of how women can be safer on a gynecological date, in an appointment, where we can give all the information about this gynecological violence, all the information about, laws that people can go to in a case of abuse or something. But actually the video is like, we give you some advice for your next gynecological appointment. And then I start speaking, and it's very like dynamic, and it's young, and like the language is so easy. So this piece represents a lot what is the spirit of Muy Waso. This like easy language, good information, high quality information, entertainment, and dynamic, and also innovative. Like it's a lot of innovation in what we do. So I think I will choose this TikTok video.
Clearly, you've decided that there is a need for these sorts of informational videos and content that discuss issues affecting women. How are these topics treated in Bolivian society?
Well, most of these feminist topics are related to women's health, women's rights, maternity. Everything that has to do with women's sexuality are really a taboo, because Bolivia is a very machistic society. We have a lot of patriarchy in Bolivia, and like in a lot of other Latin American countries. But there are so many things that are actually crucial for the women's lives that aren't that people doesn't speak, that big media don't talk about it. We don't have research, we don't have data, we don't have access to this information, or maybe there is information but it's in a language super like technical and hard. So that is something that we are committed with, to give access to women, give access to LGBTQ plus people to this vital information, And there is also like people from the rural areas, indigenous people who need to have access to this or other information that aren't having it. So that's what we are committed with. And actually fighting a lot with all these all these ideas of how women should behave, all these like preconcepts that they have about women's bodies and women's activities. So it's a like constant fight, and we have higher higher reactions in a matter of violence, in a matter of I don't know, insults and everything, but we have lower reactions to lower times, let's say, there are some times where this violence rises up and sometimes where it lowers. So it's like, I don't know, riding a boat, in a big sea. So there is where we kind of have to manage it, how to deal with it. And actually we have seen some progress, we have seen some changes, but there is a lot more to do. So there is where we are pointing to, to keep on changing things, because we believe communication and journalism is for change, is for transformation.
So you were talking about how trying to deal with these issues, trying to address them, is a bit like being a small boat in a big sea. So meaning I guess I took that to mean there's a lot going on at the same time. There are a lot of challenges to weather. It's not definitely an easy journey. But what sort of impact would you say you've had on viewers and users? Do you get the sort of feedback where they say, listen, I learned so much from this and that article, from this and that video. Could you do more of the same? What sort of interaction do you have with your audience?
Well, our audience, our community give us so much love, that sometimes I'm like overwhelmed by it. We always have these open channels to interact with them, sometimes Instagram, sometimes WhatsApp, Facebook, or TikTok. And when we give some information, people is always thankful. They are always like, oh, I didn't know this, I will use it next time. Or I don't know, thank you for sharing this. Or could you please do, I don't know, a bigger coverage about this topic, or maybe could you cover this theme in specific? They are always like asking for more or asking to like do something again, and I always receive like this sort of I don't know, like thankfulness. They are always like, we need more like this, please do more, please do more. But that thankfulness comes with frustration, because like we want to do more, we want to give you more, we want to change more things for you. And with the COVID-19 was like the first moment that we saw this. It was like people saying, oh, thank you for sharing this, or no other media outlet is doing this, thank you for giving this information. And in a matter like of feminism or LGBTQ plus people rights, is like about showing people that LGBTQ plus people exists, and they are very thankful to be the protagonist of the stories. Or even though when they write these stories, they are like super thankful to having the space, because we always like to have this diversity in the authors, in the protagonists, in the people who is like involved in the process. So I think we have a really beautiful community that they really like appreciate what we do, and they always support us. Doesn't even matter if it's not with money. They support with what they can do.
So that must be very satisfying also, like as a producer of media, to know that the people you are talking about feel represented in your stories, and that you are addressing the things that most concern them, and then they feel seen, their stories are highlighted and visible then because of you, because of your role in the media landscape. Now, of course, Bolivia also has like a lot of legacy media, a lot of institutional media. What is the media landscape in Bolivia like more generally? And you've already talked a bit about how, before Muy Waso existed, there wasn't that much. There wasn't what is the phrase I'm looking for? There wasn't much that was similar to what Muy Waso is offering. So if you could talk a little bit about the media landscape and how that does look like.
The media landscape in Bolivia was like quite traditional. There were just a few attempts of digital media outlets, and there wasn't a feminist media outlet. So we were the first ones. And I think like before and after the pandemic, like the landscape just has been transformed, because before before the pandemic, the traditional media outlets were like the bigger fish, were the biggest fishes in the ocean. And the pandemic changed everything, and also the new ways to address journalism. All this internet and digital world came to Bolivia to change everything. And now, like, we have a very weak traditional media outlets that depend a lot of the government money. And if the media outlet don't share like the political view or the editorial line with the government, then the government won't give them money. And the other source of money are the different companies, like private companies. So if you don't have anything like to do with them, or if you don't have like friends there, or like you don't have the business like done before, they won't give you money. So like we have traditional media struggling with that, and also that they cannot adapt to the new ways to do journalism and to all these like threats that are coming with the AI and with the new ways to the consumption of information and everything. So it's quite hard, I think. And we just saw that one big media outlet newspaper just closed. Yeah, ended up functioning last year. So we have like one more or less. And the digital media outlets start popping up, because like a lot of big media were closing, so these journalists needed a job, so they started to like have their own media outlets. So they start to having these initiatives with websites and everything, and we have seen like a lot of small native digital media, but it's hard to sustain. So as the years go by, many of them end up closing, or I don't know, reducing from like a big team to a 2-people team. So the situation is quite hard, and with all these global I don't know, media apocalypse are we living? It's like even harder. We have this algorithm from Google changing all the time. Our websites wouldn't be seen as they were a few years ago. I don't know, the AIs are like having, I don't know, short versions of what you could have in your website, so that keeps people from getting into our websites. Like it's a really dark future, I think. But as we said with the business model canvas, we have to be as a chameleon. We have to adapt. We have to see how can we transform, how can we, I don't know, survive by changing things, stop doing some other things. So Bolivia has like a bad time right now with media outlets, but I think there is a lot of creative people and there is a lot of smart people, and I don't know, we are used to fight. Our social history made us fighters, so I think we are going to fight it until we cannot anymore. So that's the landscape right now.
I mean, this phrase that you mentioned here, the global media apocalypse, like it really is. Well, first of all, the global media apocalypse is it's certainly an appropriate phrase. That is certainly something that is happening. Meaning, a lot. This is the point of the podcast. There's a lot of threats to the global media landscape at the moment, and it's just very interesting to see how in many different countries around the world this fight is being taken up differently. And I would like to thank you for sharing your hope and your optimism and your belief in the struggle to sort of save journalism. Now, earlier you talked about the challenges of managing a team, that you're learning what it means to have business operations, to get the most out of your people, and to allocate resources. What is something that you feel? What is the best lesson that you learned from your efforts to understand more how this works?
Well, the things that I've learned about managing a team is that most of the people that starts like with a media outlet being a journalist only knows how to be a journalist. We actually don't know how to manage people. We don't know how to have a media outlet. We don't know anything about corporative stuff, or I don't know about being an entrepreneur. There's a lot of things that we don't know, and the media management, I think, is the hardest. So like the best thing to do is to always join some spaces, join some people, join some organizations that will give you like advice about this. I have been learning everything that I know because of some courses, because of some fellowships, that I could join, and all these like made me stronger, and all that I know right now, it's because of that, and because of the experience, and because of having many mistakes. So when you are a journalist, you think that you will only have to write, I don't know, an article and I don't know, taking pictures or uploading your articles to the website, but actually you need a lot more. So it's always good to like make you stronger in those abilities, having like these other abilities that will help you out in the future. And the most important thing that we just learn in all this process is to trust like your instincts, trust what you believe, never betray your beliefs, never betray your beliefs. That's like the most important thing, because as I said at the beginning, communication and journalism, it's a service to people. Communication and journalism can transform reality, can change reality, can change our society. So if you want to like be rich, or be a billionaire, like communication is not the place. You are not in the right place because it's not ethical. Communication should be free for people. People should have access always to high quality information, to information that is vital, that they need. So if you want to make a lot of money, you are not in the right place. So that's something that you should always have in mind when you are working in this journalistic or media outlet world, that you are working for the people. So if you never betray what you believe, if you never betray your commitment, your values, you're going to do it well. It's like always have this present, always have this in mind. And we always prioritize, the existence of the media outlet. We said, okay, if we don't have a big salary, it doesn't matter. We need to guarantee that the media outlet will keep existing, will keep on going. So we'll have like a regular or even lower than regular salary, but the media outlet it's still there. You can still have access to it. So that's something very important, because people usually, receives a grant and they invested everything, and they have like 8 journalists and 2 photographers and 1 graphic designer, and all the money just flies away. So if you have like this instinct, this commitment, you will say, okay, we will just manage to keep the money like in a bit dropping system, like 1 drop for each month, so it can last longer and we can guarantee that the media will keep existing. That is something really important. If you have this in your mind, you can deal with anything. You can say, okay, we can do this more. We need to, make this money last for 6 months. And in these 6 months, we need to find 3 other clients so we can last another 3 months. And you keep on going like that, always having your mind with the first thing. The most important thing is to having your media outlet going, keep on going your media outlet.
Keep on going, stay true to your values. So that's almost it for our time together today. But before we let you go, can you name 3 best practices for us that you learned in your time running Muy Waso?
Sure. Actually, we have like 3 really important things that we were talking with my friend and colleague and partner, Mijail. The first one is to always learn. You have to be learning all the time. Keep on learning everything that you can, not only about journalism, but tech, but management, but video, image, podcast, anything, everything will be like useful for you. And you have to like keep on doing it, because the world goes faster and the world keeps changing. So if you don't keep the timing, you will be left behind. So you have to go behind it. You have to even go at the same time that the world with these changes. So you have to keep on learning everything. Just go to courses, to classes, to fellowships, anything that you can just take it and make bigger your abilities, make your abilities bigger. The second advice is to have patience, because it's a long process. It's like a slow cooking process, if you want. Sometimes you won't have like the views that you were hoping, you won't have the impact that you were hoping, but this will take its own time. So you have to be patient. You have to never give up, because it's a process that sometimes could be really exhausting, could be really like overwhelming, but at the end you will always have a reward, which is people having, some information that will change their lives, or that will at least make them happier one day, or will give them a solution, like precise solution. So that is the reward. That's the biggest reward. And the third one was Never aim to grow to the bigger growth, to the faster growth. Don't go after that. They'll go after the fast and furious grow. If your media outlet has 2 people at the beginning, just try to make the process like perfect between the 2 people, and then you can add a 3rd people. If with 3 people it works out, just make better the process, and then you can add a 4th and a 5th. And you have to grow like slowly, and you have to grow like having all the internal process really solid and really well done. Because if you grow up like crazy and from one day you are 2 and then you are 6 or 8, things will just blow up, and things won't work. And that what has happened to us, with a grant, we had money to hire people, and we became from 3 people, we became 8 or 10, and we couldn't manage it. So it was a waste of money. It was a waste of time. It was so overwhelming. We ended up burnt out because we didn't know how to deal with a process for 9 or 10 people. So that's the biggest advice that I could give you if you are just starting with a small media outlet. Just grow out slowly and always have solid things in the inside before you go to the outside or expand to the outside.
All right, so let's see if I got this, if I have this all together. So learn at all times, go to classes, fellowships, lectures that will teach you ever more about the practice of journalism. Have patience because results take time. And finally, grow at your own pace.
Yes.
Thank you very much to our guest today, Michelle Nogales of Muy Waso in Bolivia. We appreciated all of your insights today, and once again, your optimism and your hope for the future. It's something that we should all carry with us as we try to do our best in this ever-changing world. So do check out the show notes for more. Till next time on Survive and Thrive.
Thanks for having me, Janelle.
Thanks for listening to Survive and Thrive, the Media Viability Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and make sure to hit like so that other listeners can find us as well. For feedback, send an email to dw-akademie.surviveandthrive@dw.com. You can find all the information in the show notes.